This time on No Not the Mind Probe, episode number 86. And so this is Christmas.
Welcome to No Not the Mind Probe. It's very sad. Everything's depressing and people are poor. Right? Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
but then it goes, war is over if you want it. So it's about kids singing about ending war.
I think this is the second most depressing the most depressing commercial to get you to give them money was Sarah McLachlan, the puppies, the sad puppies. And then I think this one was starving kids in Africa or something like that. And I think they used this song.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I was just there, browsing through the Sears Toys catalog being like, nah. Send them some colored pastels or something their way. Now back to more presents for me, more Star Wars figures. That's what I did. I had a big cigar and a glass of wine. I was like, more Star Wars figures
and another brandy, mother. Well, John, who are you? John Grant.
I'm John Grant. Well, first of all, this is a podcast.
Oh yeah.
If you just tuned in, it is not just a fever dream of our childhood, but it's a podcast where we watch and rank every single. I'm sorry, the script, the plot's all over the place. We watch every single Doctor Who story ever. If they're coupled off as Doctor Who stories, we're going to watch.
Not interested.
While we're doing that, we know that my name is John Grant. And I am a lifelong Doctor Who fan. I've been watching it for 38 years.
And my name is Porter Mason, and John's been asking me to watch Doctor Who for 26 years. A couple of years ago, I said yes. Each episode of this podcast, we look at two stories. We'll go through the new series in order. We're closing out the Matt Smith years. And our Doctor Who sommelier, John, whom you just met,
just now,
pairs
right here.
Each Matt Smith story with a classic story, and now he'll have to shift. I don't know what he's going to do now, because that's what he's been doing.
It's hard.
John, what do we have in store for this episode? What's going on?
Okay,
anything big?
Yeah, well, so we just had the 50th anniversary story, and I think Stephen Moffat was like, okay, and I just relaxed, and they're like, no, we need a Christmas episode. I was like, and Matt Smith has to regenerate, and he's like, and you have to wrap up your entire storylines from all the multiple seasons, and he's like, okay. So he tries. Yes, it's the final Matt Smith story. Completes the Of the Doctor trilogy, or quadrilogy if you count Night of the Doctor, but we've had Name of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor. Now we have the Time of the Doctor, and I have paired that with and as I said last time, the link here may not be immediately obvious, but Time of the Doctor, a lot of continuity, brings a lot of threads together and tries to explain things together. I think someone holds together. Contrast that with Attack of the Cybermen, trying to bring a lot of different threads together, and no one knows what the hell is going on. Least of all, the Sixth Doctor and Peri. Yes, as in the Attack of the Cybermen.
All right, we're gonna try to recap these two. God help us. We're gonna do our best.
Everyone just buckle up.
I'm gonna have Wikipedia open, and hopefully that helps me. I don't know, but let's first talk about the Time of the Doctor. As we said, the Christmas special of 2013, so it aired on December 25th. It is the 241st of the currently 300 active official Doctor Who mainline stories. It was it was a 60 minutes. It was a little bit longer than
a little bit of a bumper story
episode. Yeah. And we had Claire, we had Matt Smith, and just a tiny bit of Peter Capaldi. And
just a wee bit of Peter.
Just a wee bit. We have a clip of that, which I'm gonna get set up for you here in a moment.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We also have a wee bit of Amy.
A little bit of Amy coming in. We have the silence. We have so much stuff going on. Let me see if I can get this clip working for you now.
Daleks, Cybermen. It's a lot of people in this.
Here.
You must patch the telephone device back through the console unit.
No, not now. Remind me later.
When?
I don't know, just later. Just pick a time.
When?
I don't know, just any old time, just when you think I've forgotten.
When?
Just pick a random number, express that number as a quantity of minutes, and when that time has elapsed, remind me to patch the telephone back through the console unit.
Affirmative.
How those cyber evenings must fly. Hello, the TARDIS.
Emergency. You're my boyfriend.
Ding dong, okay, brilliant. I may be a bit rusty in some areas, but I will glance at a manual.
No, you're not actually my boyfriend.
Oh, that was quick. It's a roller coaster, this phone call.
But I need a boyfriend really quickly.
Well, I hope you're nicer to the next one.
No, shut up. Christmas dinner. Me, cooking.
So
I may have accidentally invented a boyfriend.
yeah, I did that once, and there's no easy way to get rid of an android.
No, not an android. A pretend one. An imaginary one. And I said she'd be coming to Christmas dinner.
Yeah. Handles, that's a new ship. Okay, we'll take the TARDIS this time.
I just need you to come for Christmas dinner. Just do that for me. Just come to Christmas dinner and be my Christmas date.
Sorry, missed that last bit. Got a dash.
I wanted, there's a lot of great moments, obviously, in the story, epic moments, but I wanted one last little bit of Matt Smith, Jenna Coleman banter. They've got the banter down. It's a little screwball comedy banter.
Because I'd actually say, somewhat of a spoiler to my ranking, but like, that's probably my favorite moment of the episode. I like that. Like, I actually think the bigger epic moments were a little tougher to hang together, but this is always great and done very well and very well written as well acted.
I mean, you can see that this is where you can see sort of reminded, like, oh, this guy wrote coupling, and like, he can do these little moments in this that's a very His Girl Friday, sort of crackling back and forth. It's a great set of dialogue. So let's just stop there. Good scene. Moving on.
No, I mean, going quickly through the plot, which, like I said, I just felt it was somewhat overwrought. Now, we've had this before where they have these big moments, speaking of the Day of the Doctor, and then you have to have the episode after that. Now, unfortunately, as you said, the episode after that also has to do all these big things again. It just feels a little bit like, oh, can we just take a breath here? Which is why the beginning there was nice. But so instead, we don't take a breath. We have about 1 million alien ships outside of Trenzalore, which, as we know from 2 episodes ago.
Well, and I think we even heard before. We'd heard before, but yes, confirmed in 2 episodes ago, the grave of the Doctor, where he dies.
That's where the Doctor dies. That's right. And we have all these aliens all around. The Church of the Papal Mainframe. Are we familiar with them before this? I don't remember.
I'm not sure by that name, but the implication is, remember the way back in the first season of Matt Smith, where he meets the angels on the spaceship, and they have the military people, but who are all fathers and whatever. I think it's them. And we see them again in the Good Man Goes to War, right? Same kind of thing. So I think, yes, it's not maybe by that name.
And they seem to be acting as some sort of a cosmic, not like policeman, but almost like anyway, what they've done is they've just put a force field around. There's some sort of signal coming out from the planet, and it is making all these races from all over the universe come and ready to attack. And so they ask the 11th Doctor and Clara to go look to see what's the source of the message, and they do. And they go inside, and it's from they go to the planet. It's from a human settlement called Christmas. Okay, but basically what we find is that remember the pocket universe we just made? Already things are going wrong with it.
Yeah.
Already things are, we thought we could people were coming over for the party, and you thought you could just push all Gallifrey into the closet so the living room wouldn't look messy. No.
Yep. And you get a hilarious moment where your father-in-law opens, is this where I put my coat? And it's like, no, that's where
all Gallifrey falls out.
Yeah. Screwball comedy, I'm telling you.
So yeah, there's a crack there where in a tower in Trenzalore, and the Time Lords are trying to get out of the pocket universe. And who wouldn't? I mean, like, you need some space. You want to go for a vacation, and Trenzalore is lovely this time of year.
Snowy, but lovely.
So here's the stalemate, I guess. This was a little confusing to me. The aliens want to attack, so then the Doctor says, if you attack, I'll let the Time Lords out, but if he abandons Trenzalore, then they'll end.
So
explain this.
The cracks in the universe that Amy, in the beginning, it's a cracks in the surface of the universe, and it is a way that Gallifrey is attempting to get through from their pocket universe.
Yes.
They want to get home, but they don't know where home is. So they're basically the way they can find out is the Doctor, because he's the only one of them left. And so they're basically like, Doctor Who, Doctor. They're just calling out, Doctor Who, which is what I changed the horn on my car to say. So it's just like, Doctor Who, Doctor Who. And people are like, anyway, so if he answers with his name, then they know that's the right universe, and they'll return. They'll push through the crack, I guess. And be like, hey, and then everybody's like,
if they do, they'll be destroyed immediately.
Well, because everybody's like, if the Time Lords come back, the Time War starts again. It was devastating to the whole universe. We've got to stop the Time War. We got to stop that. So the Doctor's like, well, I don't want that to happen. So I'm not necessarily going to say my name. He's like, but I also don't want these poor people that are just here. They shouldn't have to suffer for this. So I don't want you to destroy I guess if you destroyed the planet or destroy the signal or something like that. Or I guess they're preventing him from saying his name so they don't come back. It's kind of a stalemate, right? They aren't sure what anybody's going to do. Yeah.
Right. So he's kind of put himself in between, but he can't leave either. So he has to stay there. And so he just stays there for millennia. I don't know,
hundreds trying to like sabotage or trying to get in there and destroy it. Yeah.
And ultimately, then we just see this happen, and then like centuries pass. How does he like ditch Clara for a while? He like sends her off in the TARDIS.
Yeah, he's like, oh, quick, go back in the TARDIS. You need, and the TARDIS is set to automatically take her home, and then it sort of brings her back. Oh, and then the priestess brings her back.
Yeah.
Who I read somewhere, and it does make sense watching it again the second time, that there was some suggestion of like, it seemed like the priestess was supposed to be River Song, but she just wasn't available. Right? It's just kind of like, yeah, the character is just sort of this crazy, and so like, so maybe that was the idea there, but they weren't available.
The character whose name is Tasha.
Yeah, Tasha Lem. Yeah.
Seems to, they seem to act as though there's familiarity there.
Yeah.
But it's like, she's never seen her before.
Yeah.
Anyway, so eventually the Doctor is going to die. And it is mentioned here finally, which we talked about last episode, is that he's saying, this is it. When I die, I die.
Yeah. And
right?
they needed
and he mentions it's because, now he's the 11th Doctor.
Yeah.
But he mentions it's because of both the War Doctor and that he wasted a regeneration.
Remember when David Tennant started to regenerate at the end of the Stolen Earth? So and then it's like the big cliffhanger, and we're like, oh, is he gonna regenerate? And then he just siphons off the energy into the hand or whatever. Basically, they're sort of retconning that and being like, that counted. Yeah. Like, that counted as one. Like, you can't. So
they're saying this is it.
This is it. Yeah.
So eventually, Clara, once again, saving the Doctor and all Time Lords,
yells through the crack. Yeah,
yells through them and says, like, "Hey, can you pass some regeneration energy over this way?"
Come on, guys, he's done a lot.
And
feels like you're phoning this in. Yeah,
and then and again, this is in what is like, oh well, this. I mean, I know this is a big episode too, but it's like, and of course, and this never really happens. That he uses the regeneration energy to destroy all Daleks. It's like, oh, well, that was pretty easy then. Like, we should have done that, before. But of course, they're never destroyed. They always destroy all the Daleks. That always happens.
Just the ones that happen to be around. And I guess the cracks are closed, so we don't know that they can't get back to some. I don't know why that happened. And
the Time Lords. So Gallifrey does not return to the universe.
Gallifrey does not return. No, basically Clara's like, look, he'll probably work out something later. Could you help him out now? If he dies, that's sort of implying, hey, if he dies now, although not sure why Clara say, hey, it's the Doctor, would have been like, okay, then we're coming in. We'll fix him too. But like, anyway, yeah.
Well, anyway, but then he does regenerate, and we see Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we get a little Amy appearance. She comes, she pops down, just a little say goodbye. Rory, not present. Yeah. This is the grand sort of tying up of all the threads. I mean,
maybe that's why it felt a little like obligatory of just like, all the stuff, sure, here's all the things, and it just whereas the previous episode, The Day of the Doctor, felt just like a really well scripted episode that also happened to tie a bunch of lore together. This
Yeah, I
just
mean,
felt like we
feels
got to
like
move on
we
here,
gotta do
so
this.
I don't know.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
almost would have rather
obligatory.
they just had a nice story about Matt Smith ending and not tied up some stuff.
Because you got to bring it. So they
Yeah.
brought in the cracks, Gallifrey, so all the stuff
But
we
that
just picked
just
up from.
happened. I don't know why they needed to tie that up.
That was
Like,
my thing. I thought we were going to go for a while without seeing anything about Gallifrey. It was like sort of going to be the long term. Excuse me, that's out there somewhere, but no. The Silence. We find out who the Silence are,
Yeah.
sort of.
that the papal mainframe
Yeah, they're
becomes the Church of
confessors.
the Silence.
Yeah. And then I do like she was like, we're now having an unscheduled faith change and silence. So that, that's a nice little element. It's like, okay, that's what silence will fall means. You can't say his name. So they're preventing him from saying his name. Hence that's the silence part. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he talks about why the TARDIS exploded. That's what created the cracks. And then now Gallifrey's trying to get through them. And it pulls a lot of these elements together. But yeah, in sort of a way of like, okay, wait, what's happening now? You do get a nice little, one more acting tour de force from Matt Smith, who gets to play an older doctor and a very old doctor.
Yeah.
In a not always convincing makeup. It's hard to make old age makeup convincing, but I think his performance is very good.
Yeah.
Clara's great as ever. I like the beginning more, her sort of and dealing with her family and sort of the grandmother, by the way, played by I don't have the name here, but she played Etta in Vengeance on Varus. Remember the two people that watched the TV were watching and commenting on it? The woman, that's her, the grandmother.
Oh, wow.
That's Clara, yeah. And also a little, since we've mentioned this several times on the podcast, Handles, the Cybermen head, is voiced by the guy from What We Do in the Shadows, who plays I just watched it tonight. Who plays not Matt Berry, the other main guy. His name is like Navon something.
Aiden.
He plays Nandor. Whoever plays Nandor.
Well, we'll sort that out. Yeah.
Pull this up. Anyway, yes, he's the voice of Handles.
Oh, Kayvon Novak. Kayvon Novak.
Yeah, he's great. I will say the nice little bit of almost Russell T Davies-esque writing is that considering that he's just the head of a Cyberman and he only gets like 10 minutes of screen time when he quote dies, it's like a sad little moment. You're like, oh, all right. Like that's pretty well done. Yeah, and then we get the grand appearance of Peter Capaldi, which again, obviously we were expecting him to show up, and he gets his nice little minute of screen time, which then everybody watches over and over again for 6 months before waiting for him to appear, trying to get everything out of it. But yeah, I remember being a little underwhelmed by this when it came out too. And again, I wasn't sure if it's the following from the Day of the Doctor and all the big stuff there, or if it is just sort of a little bit like there was just had to do so much.
Yeah.
And it was very confusing what was happening. But saved-ish by the sort of nice. The moments were very nice, right? Even if the whole thing didn't hang together, the clip we listened to, the two of them when she's with him and sort of helps him with he's too old to pull the cracker, and like she's sort of comforting him, and I love his big moment when he is regenerating and he's mouthing off to the Daleks, and he's like, oh, don't tell me the rules and stuff. That's a great moment. But yeah, it doesn't quite all hang together.
I just think it's trying to do two finales right one on top of another that
back-to-back finale. That's a good point.
And maybe that's just the only way it could be, but I feel like I would have rather just had him regenerate in The Day of the Doctor and then have this be the first Peter Capaldi episode. That I think, could have worked, but this, it just felt like, I'd rather either have a break from that and just have just kind of a one-off weird Christmas episode, or great, let's move on to Peter Capaldi and see what that's like, because that's going to be interesting no matter what, and different. That'll be different than like everything. So
it does feel like they were just like, poor Stephen Moffat is just like half unconscious and they're like pounding him against his keyboard and like, come on.
Well, why don't we move on to our classic episode?
Yeah, let's get something lighter, more fun.
Yeah,
easier to understand.
Oh boy, the Attack of the Cybermen.
Oh boy. That's actually the official title. It's called, oh boy, Attack of the Cybermen. A lot of people know it as. It
is the premiere story in season 22.
Well, you want to put your best foot forward when you start a new
aired
season.
In the new year, January 5th through the 12th, 1985. Just 2 episodes. Now, I will say that. It's only 2 episodes.
45 minutes.
They are 45 minutes. But at least it's just the two of them. And as we mentioned, it's the Sixth Doctor and Peri. This is right before Vengeance on Varro. Speaking of, and we have a little clip here. Oh, it is the 137th story.
Yeah.
Let me play the clip here.
And we're going to contrast some banter.
I hope you never do anything more serious. My heart is where my liver should be.
Right? At least the TARDIS isn't damaged.
Big deal.
Be grateful. If it shall have been punctured, you'd find it very difficult to breathe in a vacuum.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Just tell me where we are, if you can.
Oh, child of little faith.
Do you blame me? What's that?
Comet 9/12/44. To you, Halley's Comet.
It's very pretty, but it still doesn't tell me where we are.
In your sun's solar system. In the year that you would calculate as 1985, I was in fact taking you to Earth.
Bit of an anticlimax after that journey.
Ungrateful wretch.
What do you expect? Applause?
A little gratitude wouldn't irretrievably damage my ego.
Come off it, Doctor. No one is more surprised than you that we came through it.
All right, that's the kind of similar banter. Similar.
That's why I picked it. It's like, let's contrast the lighthearted banter of the 11th and Clara and the 6th and Peri.
It just jumps off the screen, and I still love, as if my memory serves me, that she's supposed to have a Baltimore accent.
Yeah, Baltimore. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
She's of course, I'm sure you enjoy. She's the whole entire episode. She's wearing at least the beginning, she's wearing a tight pink leotard through the whole thing.
Yes. Okay, so, well,
Good luck. I wish you luck.
Well, first of all, the Doctor's trying to fix that chameleon circuit, that pesky chameleon circuit.
Yeah,
he can never seem to fix that in all the millennia. We smash cut to Earth, 1985, where we're going to head there, which coincidentally is the year this episode came out. So that's lucky.
Yeah, that worked out well.
So we end up in London. There's like a gangster, and we hang out with them for a little. There's like a diamond heist.
Did you recognize him? Lytton from Resurrection of the Daleks. That's the lead. So remember Resurrection of the Daleks, the guy who was the robot, who was the head of the Dalek security forces or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He escapes.
Right.
Yeah, it's Lytton. Yeah.
Lytton's there. Okay.
Now you're going to appreciate it more. Maybe you want to stop and go back and watch it again.
Really helps. Suddenly, they're captured by Cybermen. He and Peri are. And they're going to go to Telos. So we get to Telos, but we're in the below ground on the Cybermen on Telos.
Yeah.
And then I guess and you can tell me more with this. So the Cryons are actually who live. So the Cybermen run Telos, but the Cryons are like, I don't know, they've been sent underground.
Sort of like the Native Americans to us.
They're the indigenous people.
The indigenous people, and then we just rolled over them and built a whole bunch of stuff.
So they're attacked by a crazy Cyberman.
All right.
He's gone nutsy. And and then the leader, and they also have the leader of the Cryons. And the Cybermen are trying to use time travel to go back in time and prevent their original world, Mondas, which we have. They've talked about Mondas. They've been there too, I think.
So we saw. If we've watched the 10th Planet, which is the heart.
Yeah, we have. Yes, we have watched the 10th
Okay,
Planet.
That supposedly takes place in 1986.
Oh, okay.
And so so basically that's why the Cybermen are now on Earth in 1985, monitoring the situation. And so then it's okay. They're like, we can prevent Mondas from being destroyed. They've got a time machine on Telos.
Right. So they go there. Okay. So then we see Lytton. They get in touch with the crew of the time ship, who have the Cybermen tried to convert them, and they're kind of like half Cybermen. I mean, they're not Cybermen, but anyway,
half Cybermen, half London Cockney street thugs.
Yeah. But then the Cybermen, well, they basically kill all of them.
Yeah, everybody dies.
And then the Doctor's trying to escape with what's his name, with the
Lytton.
Yeah, well, no, but he's trying to escape with the president of the Cryons or whatever.
Class.
And then they're killed too. Yeah, I'm not the Doctor, but and then Peri and the Doctor they're back together. We get the TARDIS into the control room now, and now Litton's, I'm sorry, then they're trying to convert Litton to a Cyberman.
Yeah.
He's almost there. And then the cyber controller, who's like the kind of the head Cyberman, not really,
he's the
kinda.
boss.
And they kill him, but they also kill Litton,
They
which
kill a
is
lot of people.
really sad, for we all really care a lot about Litton.
Yeah, suddenly.
They escape
That's
because
it.
the bomb they had set up earlier
Bomb
goes off.
Boom, blows it, yeah.
And destroys the cyber tombs. But so I guess the Cybermen didn't prevent themselves from being stopped, but
Nope. The time machine, I think, blew up with them, I guess.
So then the Cybermen, okay, they're not a problem anymore. So that's great.
Guess not, so that they still mind us, and I guess they're still around, but they don't change time. Yeah, this is a mess.
And then the doctor's really upset that he trusted Litton.
No, he misjudged him. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know that Litton was a good guy." And she's like, "Oh, like Peri's like, it turned out he was a good guy. He was helping
didn't
the
trust
Crown."
him, I should say.
Yeah, he's like, "I didn't trust him." Oh no. Yeah, this is by well, it's interesting itself. It's credited to Paula Moore. And after broadcast, she was stripped of her UK citizenship and banished. It's one. No one seems to know who Paula Moore is. Eric Sayward claims she was his girlfriend. So maybe some moderate amount of nepotism here in the writing. But a lot of people say she's never been credited with anything else. So there's a lot of speculation is that Eric Sayward wrote this himself, but couldn't take credit for it because he was a script editor and he can only commission himself for so many things or whatever. There's also a lot of speculation that this was co-written by Eric Sayward and Ian Levine. Ian Levine was a mega Who fan. He was a big Doctor Who fan who was basically an unofficial advisor to the production office during the 80s because he knew all the continuity, and so he could sort of say, hey, he is a controversial figure in Doctor Who fandom, still around. I think he was a DJ at some point. Anyway, I don't know. But he also is responsible for rescuing a number of episodes that would have been destroyed. Like he was sort of the one pushing the archives to find them, and so he saved a number of episodes. So good for him. But yes, so clearly trying to tie together a bunch of continuity. We mentioned Tomb of the Cybermen. I think the Invasion, which you haven't seen yet. Obviously, the 10th Planet. A lot of stories that no one had seen in 30 years, 20 years. And so, it wasn't necessarily going to hang together for them. Has a huge guest cast. Let's see. So Faith Brown, who's a famous sort of comedian and impressionist. She played Flast, the Cryon. They were like, hey, we got this very recognizable character, and here we put her in a big plastic mask and no one can see her face. You have Terry Malloy, so the guy Russell, I think it was the undercover cop at the beginning. Remember him, who was going to? That's Davros. That is the actor who played Davros. Out beyond the mask, the bald guy, who was the other guy who pairs up with them with Litton to steal the time machine. That's Brian Glover, and he's sort of a well-loved British character actor who'd been in a bunch of stuff. My favorite bit of casting is the inexplicable choice to cast Michael Kilgariff as the cyber controller. Now, Michael Kilgariff is a very large gentleman. He played the robot, actually, in Robot, the Tom Baker story, but he was also the cyber controller in Tomb of the Cybermen. And so they were like, oh, we'll get the same cyber controller back. But unfortunately, Michael Kilgariff had gained a significant amount of weight.
Sure.
And so the cyber controller is very pudgy, like noticeably large, which is sort of, it's like, oh, the cyber controller gained weight. So yes, unnecessary to have him, at least in the costume. Maybe they could use the voice if they wanted to, but there you go. You do have the TARDIS return. The TARDIS Chameleon Circuit is fixed. This was a publicity stunt. John Nathan Turner was put it about in the press or whatever that he was going to, they were going to, maybe the police box was consigned to history, that they were going to finally fix the Chameleon Circuit and there would be no more police box.
Really?
Yeah. And so it generated a bunch of buzz in the papers and people like, oh no, you can't, blah, blah. And then so the scenes of the TARDIS changing we're playing with that a little bit. And yeah, and then you have, of course, the Sixth Doctor Peri relationship, which is not going well. We haven't watched the Twin Dilemma yet, where it's even worse. He tries to strangle her at one point. And yes, they still have that prickly back and forth with each other, which does not work. It's just kind of like, you guys should really just break up. And then, of course, also the one last note: this was the season that Doctor Who got where they really needed to decide they need to retool Doctor Who because it was getting too violent. And you have the very graphic scene where Litton's hands are mangled by the Cybermen, and like there's blood, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's very unpleasant. A lot of dying.
Yeah, it was. I can't imagine like watching this as a kid, or it just seemed like a real tonal shift. And then also I mean, I'll never really understand the Sixth Doctor. I don't know what they were doing. Like, I don't know what they were trying to do. And again, yeah, maybe the actor is just, he's trying to act whatever is written for him, but it's just like the scripts are bizarre. Like, I don't know what his character is.
You've got, I mean, I think
someone likable the way they write him.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, we've talked about this before, but I think you've got Eric Sayward, the script editor, who just, I think, does not seem to believe the Doctor can be a pacifist. Like, it just thinks, it sort of has a cynical view. The universe is a cynical place and people die and all this kind of terrible stuff, and just kind of this is, it's controversial, but the ending is the Doctor just rolling around on the floor with a gun shooting Cybermen, and it's just and there's several points where he's carrying a gun and doing stuff
like
with
a
it.
cop show.
Yeah, just like this isn't really the Doctor. At least come up with some clever way to wire something together, something like that. So yeah, it's a mess. It's a real, and to think this is the season premiere, right? So we've had Peter Davison's Regenerated, and we have they did do, at least this one, they did do one full episode with the new Doctor before the season ended, the last season ended. So the audience has at least gotten to see the new Doctor, but this is like, the big beginning, the big opening.
So
of
this
is
his second episode ever?
Yeah, this is the second episode ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
This is the theme. This is the theme, my friend. This is the theme. The very theme, my friend.
Very funereal.
That's a little Doors action coming at you.
Yeah, it's just a little.
This is the end for Matt Smith, John, and this is not the end of the theme section. This is the beginning of the theme section, because we are adherents of the repeating themes here at No Not the Mind Probe. We like to talk about ideas that are threaded throughout Doctor Who, through time and space, through our very civilization, or at least through our lives, and the latter of which being the most important of all of this. What themes did you want to cover with this week's episodes?
Well, let's take this one. It's not really more a theme so much as let's talk about Matt Smith. I mean, this is our farewell to good old Matt Smith.
The series wrap for Matt Smith, everybody.
Yeah, good job, Matt Smith, everybody. And obviously we can hold him up to the paragon of the best Doctor, the Sixth Doctor, and be like, all right, how does he stack up?
That's right.
Against the Colin Mayer, if we want to
bring
it all together.
Really, we would say the fifth and a half Doctor, Peri. I mean, she's compare her to.
A lot of people don't realize Matt Smith was also supposedly doing a Baltimore accent. Did not come off as well. I think Peri does it better. I'm going to be honest. I think if you had to compare the two, I would take Peri. Yeah, no. What's the take on Matt Smith? I mean, I think we've been watching a lot of him, obviously, in sort of going in order, and we've had a few. I think we're excited for a new Doctor, but I think we've talked about in a couple episodes past too of like maybe that we're actually underappreciating. I mean, we've been saying since the beginning, Matt Smith is just so good that even a mediocre episode, you're just kind of like, yeah. But I think it's almost like I do think having watched through these. Again, I'm like, I think I probably underappreciate just how much he is doing in his performance.
And he didn't really take time to find his footing. It was like from the beginning, he came into this fully formed, maybe aided by Stephen. I mean, I don't know much about how much he was sort of coached into the performance or role or whatever, but like he just came out swinging from the very beginning, and it wasn't like, oh, it really developed into something interesting over time. Like the thing he started out at has been the thing he's been for 3 or 4 years. I guess it was 3 or 4 years.
Three and a half. Yeah.
And it's just been great and consistent right from the beginning. It has explored it in cool and unique ways, but I don't mean he's not developing it like he's being stagnant. It was just great right from the beginning, and it's reflected in our rankings. We both have him ranked extremely high. Mine as like, well, the favorite of all of them. Yours is almost the favorite of them. I know we haven't ranked all the classic Doctor's stories, but still, were you surprised how much, in revisiting Matt Smith, how much you really liked a lot of these episodes?
Yeah, I was. There were a few that I'd sort of forgotten about or something. I was like, oh yeah, these are really good. But yeah, I think it's just watching his performance of like his his physicality is amazing. Like the way he moves his body and like it's sort of especially there's sequences where he's sort of like the way he's moving is it's almost like you can tell that his brain is moving faster. Like as the character's brain is moving faster than his body, and like there's almost a disconnect between the two. And I think that's an amazingly clever performance, right?
Yeah,
like he'll do something with his hand and then look at it like, wait, what just happened? and then it's really brilliant.
And he's sort of, he does a really good job at appearing almost clumsy, but very in control of all his movements at the same time.
There's a lot of like spins and little twirls and like the way he just moves around a room, and he'll sort of take in every aspect of the scenery and the props and just like, well,
what's so interesting is that as we discussed, the David Tennant stories started to get really bogged down with the relationship stuff with the companions, and then it's like, cool, let's bring a younger, also attractive doctor, and then they really steered clear of it. He successfully, though very handsome guy, and we heard at the beginning of this episode in his clip, like they would have little like jokes about flirting and stuff like that. But I think they very successfully made him have a very asexual relationship with his companions, and that was great.
Well, I think Tennant, they played it as a like geek chic, right? Like he's geeky, but he's cool and he's smooth and kind of, and today the Doctor really plays this up, right? His sort of, the way he's flirting with the Queen and flirting with Clara, like they make him. And then I think Matt Smith, if you had to summarize what the character was, it's like somebody's geeky younger brother, right?
Yeah,
it's like a geeky 12-year-old younger brother or something like that. And so that, he's a handsome guy and stuff like that, and he can, he flirts a little bit or something, but you're just kind of like, oh, he's too weirdly dorky to be like and it works, right? And I think that,
but also he's not hung up on it. He's not like, oh, if only Amy. He's to your point, he's almost like that awkward 15-year-old of like, no, I don't even know what to do. No, like exactly. I'm not interested. Like not, And
I think, that has to be. So I know, and we'll see now with, I think Moffat's intent was to basically, not Peter Capaldi specifically, but an older actor, right? He wanted to go from Tennant to somebody older, and then saw Matt Smith in an audition and was kind of like, oh, all right, yeah, he's pretty amazing actually. And I think he discounts it. I have a suspicion that also the BBC was like, no, teenage
like
girls, they like the young guy. Yeah, let's go for that. And he's like, John Pertwee, huh? Not that John Pertwee is not a handsome man, but anyway, so I think he wasn't expecting but he had to be like, okay, I'm gonna have to differentiate this character from Tennant. He can't be just another, otherwise it's just a stay. And we talked about in our last episode, last Mind Probe episode, the secret to the longevity is the characters change and the format sort of changes and stuff like that. I think he had to do something different with Smith, and he just got a performer who could really, who just kind of. You always watch him. He's always pay attention to him on the screen, and he just nails the performance.
So I think Matt Smith, I have all positive vibes and A+ marks for in terms of that role. I do think the 11th Doctor as the character maybe was a little like just kind of lost in the wind, where don't really know what the point of it all was. And as we've discussed in several episodes, including the last one, there would be kind of big declarations about like, this is what I'm all about. And then it would just sort of fade away very quickly. Whereas I do feel like the 9th Doctor and the 10th Doctor, they had like things to their plot lines. Like the 9th Doctor was clearly like dealing with the I keep saying it, but like PTSD. He clearly had just like, he was trying to get through what had just happened in the Time War. And I think the 10th Doctor... kind of like... sort of, I would say, like, there was a lot of what Rose, and to a lesser extent, Martha, and then back again to Rose, was representing to me was this longing for kind of wanting a normal life, like wanting to kind of be... And that felt like this through line of his whole character. And I just don't know what it was for the 11th Doctor. Amy and Rory kind of became the through line.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, which was great. But then like when that ended, even when it ended well before Amy and Rory left, the show just felt a little adrift in terms of season long arcs. Again, that's not Matt Smith. He was, as we've discussed, like that's what was so amazing, is that there were even moments in here where, like, arc wise, you felt a little like, I'm not sure where we're going, but the episodes would just still be great because he's so good. Like,
that's a good point, because we're going to see, I think, Peter Capaldi's character, the Doctor, definitely. I mean, the first season in particular has a very strong, as you'll see the arc, it's am I a good person?
Huh, interesting.
Question of that. And then and I think, you're right. Smith doesn't really have, it's more about the companions. And I don't know if maybe Moffat was trying to address it. So, the Day of the Doctor, they have the exchange where it's like and I think it's Billy Piper's character who says it, the one who grieves or something. David Tennant is the one who remembers all the lives lost and counts them or whatever, and then Matt Smith is the one who forgets. It's like if maybe there was like he's almost deliberately being like, I'm just this quirky, fun,
like nothing to see here. Let's move along.
Yeah, and so maybe that's the trauma, or dealing with the trauma. But yeah, you're right. There isn't a huge arc for him, specifically for him, that isn't influenced or isn't really about the people that are around him. But yeah, he pulls it off just by being Matt Smith.
Alrighty,
we didn't talk about Colin Baker. So Colin Baker,
I'm so sorry, John. We just don't have time. We just do not have time.
Are you Jimmy Kimmel Matt Damoning? You're like, sorry, Matt Damon. Sorry, Colin Baker. We just don't have time.
In the after show, we can discuss Peri, but there are 300 official Doctor Who television stories. We've ranked 170 of them. This number just keeps astounding me every time. We're really moving along. It's really going to crush me when I start having to say there's 305 stories. There's 300. It's not going to rank up that quickly. At the rate they're going, we're going to have like 10 more stories by the next millennia. So
we got some time, but we got spin-off media and. That's right. So, if you want, we could start counting Big Finish ones. It could be like there are 2,080 Doctor Who stories. That might be too depressing.
So I'm going to start my ranking first. I'll start with the Time of the Doctor, and I'm going to check while you rank. But I think it might be one of my lowest, if not my lowest ranked. Matt Smith. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, I ranked it out of 172. I ranked it 106.
Oh, wait on.
I just really found this kind of a slog. There were certain points in this where I was just like, what's going on? Like, can we move along? What's happening? Like, why? And like, again, we would just set up this stalemate with this great dramatic talk of like, the only thing we can do is just stay here. And I don't know. It just really drug on for me. So I have it down below. I have it around Terror of the Autons, above the Sea Devils, below Colony in Space, below the Wheel in Space, below. So pretty far down for me. Again, I'll take a look to see if that's the lowest one. And then Attack of the Cybermen. Yeah, this I went down toward the basement on this one, and I decided to I have a couple of them higher. I don't know if that's just because I saw them early on and they're almost like in my own limited 3-year nostalgia. There's some other ones that are nostalgic to me. Like I put Vengeance on Varos, which follows right after this, and Megalus right above this, because I just kind of remember them as being like hilariously terrible when first it's like, this wasn't funny to me anymore that it was terrible.
No, there's nothing funny in this one.
But I don't have it down like in the very, very bottom. I have it above Time Lash and Stone's Blood, so I have it number 160, but it's pretty low.
It's not in a neighborhood you'd feel comfortable hanging out in. Like you'd be rushing, you'd have your hand on your wallet and you'd be heading for your car with your keys out.
That's right.
That's this neighborhood.
Definitely true.
We're close to agreeing here. I give Time of the Doctor a little more time. I don't really know why. I've stopped trying to come up with reasons for this ranking.
It's just Matt Smith.
I this time watching it through. Well, so I remember docking at points. I feel like, or I remember as I saw it being disappointed when I first saw it, and then being like, well, wait, am I just the high of Day of the Doctor? Like this may just not be fair. And I've watched it a few times since, and it's grown on me. And we'll get to the poll in a second. It's gone up a little bit for other people too. I think I like the Clara Matt Smith banter. I like the regeneration. I thought that the sequence of that is pretty cool. I like Peter Capaldi's little brief moment. I thought that was very funny. Good opening for a Doctor. And I give Moffat credit, I think, for tying up or attempting to tie up as many. And this is when I watched it this time. I was like, all right, I'm going to really pay attention to the plot here. What are the outstanding elements of the series, and does he wrap them up? And I think he he does a decent job of pulling things together to the point where it seems like, all right, he had a plan here. Maybe I do agree. Thinking about it, I was like, yeah, maybe like at the end of last season, some of those episodes that seemed to be just running in place and we weren't getting any real advancement, maybe that would have been a time to pepper in a little bit more of this to resolve a few of these things. So I've got it number 49. I've got it below Earthshock, just above Cold War, Terror of the Autons, Tomb of the Cybermen. It's solid, but not my favorite. Yeah, and Attack of the Cybermen, just keep scrolling. Scroll. It's way down at the bottom for me. It's just another 6th Doctor abortion. It just doesn't. It's a mess. It's a continuity mess. It's got the Cybermen. It's got lots of Cybermen in it. And if you like Cybermen, that's cool. But it's just a whole lot of violence and people die. I mean, they've got that whole subplot of the half converted Cybermen and Lytton and teaming up to steal the time machine. And it's like, I mean, we've been following them for the whole 2 episodes, and then they almost get to the time machine, and the door just opens and someone shoots them, and then it's just like, oh. I'm glad we invested in that. Like, it was, it's just like, so I've got it at number 160, 64, below Time Flight, which is always fun, just above Celestial Toymaker, Fear Her, The Hungry Earth, Cold Blood, which I just don't like because it's nice to children. Time of the Ronnie, The Edge of Destruction. Yeah, it's down. It's got a little slickness for the Cybermen, but yeah, just another disappointing 6th Doctor adventure. And it's just, and I blame it's in my Eric Sayward disappointment. Let's just look here. So, Time of the Doctor, and this is again in the big Doctor Who magazine poll that they're doing for the 60th anniversary. They got Time of the Doctor ranked at number 14 out of 39 stories.
That's fairly high. That's higher than I think we have it.
Yeah, it's moved up a little bit. I think it was 16 the last time they did this. It's around. It's below the Snowmen. And below Name of the Doctor, above Angels Take Manhattan, and A Good Man Goes to War. So, sitting upper third, and Attack of the Cybermen. Well, there's only 8 6th Doctor stories. It's number 6. So it's towards the bottom 2, just above Time Lash. We haven't seen the Twin Dilemma yet. But not a favorite amongst the fans.
Well, we can kind of do our wrap on Matt Smith rankings. First of all, I was way off personally. I forgot The Curse of the Black Spot, A Town Called Mercy. I ranked several things lower than this one. Mm-hmm. But in terms of we have 40 Matt Smith stories, and or 39 rather, I'm sorry. And we have Time of the Doctor ranked 27th of 39. Mm-hmm. Up at the top, as the top of it all, we have Day of the Doctor, The 11th Hour, and then our top 5 Matt Smith stories are Day of the Doctor, 11th Hour, A Christmas Carol, Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, and The Pandorica Opens, The Big Bang. And then we have a bunch of others real high. Our bottom of the barrel ones were The Hungry Earth, Cold Blood, as you mentioned. You ranked very low. I didn't rank it as low as you, but since you ranked it almost at the bottom, and then The Curse of the Black Spot, Town Called Mercy, The Wedding of River Song, and A Good Man Goes to War, actually, at the bottom of
I'm trying to think of a common thread here on these, but it's kind of all over the map.
No. But I mean, again, overall, he has the highest of all of our rankings, which I mentioned, and we can, now compare. Well, obviously the 8th Doctor, but also the 9th, 10th, and 11th. We can compare them versus one another. And what shows up is that you have the 9th and 10th almost the same. You have the 9th Doctor stories ranked a little bit better, and that's probably because there's fewer of them, but at any rate. But then you have the 11th Doctor significantly lower, and then I have them progressively going up. So this might be just I like Doctor Who more and more. Because I have the 9th Doctor stories ranked around the 90s, the 10th Doctor ranked around the 70s, and then the 11th Doctor average rank around the 60s. So that's my current. So we'll see if that continues with Peter Capaldi and the 13th Doctor, or am I going to just be like, no, Matt Smith was one. I really think I just loved the whole Amy, Rory, Matt Smith one. I had so many high around there that I think that's going to be tough to beat. But
yeah, that first, and a lot of people do regard that first Matt Smith season is regarded as one of the greats. Like, I think that really solid classic season. Yeah.
Well, look, you can see all our rankings, and it's a cool little chart. I update it. You can sort it by my rankings, by John's. You can sort it by everybody's.
Porter revealed that this is the only time he can actually enjoy doing math and programming is to these charts. So please validate for Porter. This is it.
That's right.
Otherwise, his life is empty except for the daughters.
I use a WordPress plugin called Table Press. I love tabular data, and this gives me an opportunity to play around with it. It's very exciting. If you want to know how I export this from Google Sheets and upload them into Table Press, drop me a line at porter@mindprobe.show. Or, we can have it a public conversation, because I think a lot of people would be interested in that. We could maybe do an episode just all about tabular data.
If you have a podcast about podcasting and or data analytics, reach out. I think Porter would love to talk to you about it. Yeah.
So you can go there. You can also see what we're going to watch next. You can subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can go on YouTube, search for No Not the Mind Probe on YouTube.
Check it out.
You will see the clip of No Not the Mind Probe first, but if you scroll down like a couple, you'll see us. Or you can go to @MindProbe Show. That's our handle on YouTube. And you can see all the episodes are obviously on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then we've started doing the video versions, I'd say about in the last 10 or 15, something like that.
Yep.
So you can see all those. We'd love it if you subscribe.
We have searched for as many possible ways to deliver this content to as few people.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, all 5 of you have a lot of options.
So please do rate the shows. Please do pass them along to friends, and please do subscribe. We really appreciate that.
Do all those things.
John, what do we have in store for next episode?
We have a new doctor.
Ooh,
a new doctor. Can you believe it, folks?
We
embark on the era of the 12th Doctor. The great Peter Capaldi has arrived with I believe, an extra long. It's a little bit longer episode.
Okay.
Tib and Clara and the Paternoster gang is back. We'll get Jenny and Strax and Madame Vastra in the interestingly titled Deep Breath. And we'll talk about it, but this very clearly very conscious of the fact that people might be concerned that this is an older doctor, a big change from the younger doctors. So there's a lot going on in this episode. I've paired that with because it is set sort of in the Victorian London story and this sort of macabre story. So I've paired that with a 4th Doctor Leela classic, The Talons of Wang Chiang. Now I have to, a little disclaimer here, and you'll see this, I believe, on the Brit box as well. The Talons of Wang Chiang is a very well-regarded story, but fortunately, it is a bit of a product of its time in that there are a number of white British people playing Chinese people, and there is
always
called yellowface. Now you got to remember, this was the 70s. Asian people were not invented until the early 90s. So there were no options. No, it's not great. For the most part, the Chinese characters are smarter than the other characters, so it's kind of like in that sort of, I don't know, Mr. Moto, Charlie Chan world of it's unfortunate that, but they're not totally being, I mean, at least no one has giant, buck front teeth, and it's not totally awful, but it's not great.
Yeah.
So anyway, just be aware that.
But this is like your favorite story, isn't it?
This is definitely one of my top stories. I'm going to be interesting to see how we rank it, but this is definitely classic. It's very funny. It's Robert Holmes, and the 4th Doctor and Leela. And the final Philip Hinchcliffe story. So we got I got that ahead. So it's time to embark on a new era of Doctor Who.
I love it. I love new eras. I love the clothing line New Era. I have a friend named Kara. She's a great
love her. Really stretching here. Well, you just try to put yourself in the mindset of a 12-year-old girl who's been in love with the Doctor, the 10th and 11th Doctor, and now an old grandfather is taking over, and you got to be like, I'm
kind of irascible grandfather.
Yeah, like I'm in love with him too.
Mindprobe.show.